Hello, welcome to Evolve Online School's exam webinar series. This series is designed to help our FET students, our grade 10 to 12 students, succeed at writing their exams online and make sure that they follow all the procedures they need to follow in order to have a legitimate exam session. I'm joined by Laura Foote, who is the head of academics at Evolve Online and who has designed most of this process. So I'm going to act during this webinar as one of the students. I'm going to do all the things I'm supposed to do as a student, and we'll talk you through it as we go. So let's get started.
Yeah, I think it's very important to understand why we're doing this. I think that we need to understand that we need to make sure that we know that you are the person that's writing the exam. So I think that the biggest thing we need to understand is that we need to have proof, should there be any doubts, that you were
It was you legitimately
doing this paper.
Yeah.
So let's move on and let's have a look at our environment.
We have multiple systems at Evolve to ensure that our exams are proctored and that we can confidently say that it was in fact that student who wrote the exam and nobody wrote it for them, or they didn't use ChatGPT or something like that to write their exam for them. Okay, so just quickly let me run through the systems. So first of all, we run our tests on a platform.
Yes, exam portal.
Okay, tell us more about exam portal.
Okay, so the exam portal is on your browser, on your computer. You need to be logging in there. It then gives us any notifications if you change screens or if you do a copy and paste type situation. So it flags when you are doing something that's not compliant with what an exam does.
It's giving you the exam itself.
Yes.
And then it's also checking that you stay within that screen and that you're not going onto Google to search for something. Or
exactly.
Like that. So that's the proctoring part. Where does this exam portal come from?
It's the exam portal that the IB uses for their accommodation students. So we wanted our students to use this specific portal so that if any of them use it in their final exams, that's something they're going to be used to. So I think that that's the important part, and this is where they will find their exam paper. So they don't need to go to Blackboard or anywhere else. The exam paper is in the exam portal. If it is a typing exam, so for example it's a history essay or something like that, they can actually type it. Not so much for matrics. We would prefer the matrics to write it to get used to having handwritten work, but there is a possibility.
Well, I would suppose that from the middle of grade 11 or your final exam in grade 11, you should start practicing handwriting your exams. Look, we are working with the IB. There is an ambition to be able to allow children to take their exams online instead of having to write it or take it within the exam portal. And the exam portal has all kinds of features. So if you've got a spelling concession, you can have the spelling checker on. If you need something to read the exam to you, the portal does that. But also we can switch the spell checker off. You can't take advantage of assistive technology in the exam portal.
And also important to know that the exam portal, if you do write anything, so for example if it's a maths exam, you do need a phone because you need to scan a QR code to upload pictures. So you can actually write your exam, your maths sum, for example, on a piece of paper and then scan it and load it in as a picture onto the exam portal. So you don't have to type everything. There can be a mixture of typing and writing.
And is there a trainer on exam portal that a child can use? Can they practice on exam portal, or do we set that up
So
for
we
them?
have done a few practice tests, and all new students should have been in that practice session. There is an exam portal user guide which we sent to all of our students. It's also on the assessment portals for them to look at. So they just need to be looking at that, and then I think that the practice test is going to be the best option in order to just try it out themselves.
Yeah, and the more comfortable they are with it, the less stressed they're going to be. And that's another reason why we use it from grade 10 on, so that they are starting to become comfortable. If they get it wrong in grade 10, that's okay. We can always do a test again.
And that's why we also have so many backup systems. From last year's exams, we've realized that sometimes things don't always work according to plan, especially with power and connectivity and everything else like that.
I'll get into that with you as well, because I think we are going to talk through what should you do if load shedding strikes, or what should you do if your connection suddenly drops. And just while staying on exam portal, I just want to point out that you need to be connected to the internet at the beginning to get your exam curated to you. But after that, it's not the end of the world if you disconnect, because you can actually save your work offline, and when you connect again, Exam Portal will load it up for you.
Exactly. The same with Invigilator app.
Okay, I'll talk about Invigilator now.
Yeah.
All right, so just staying with Exam Portal, and we're just going to go look at my screen quickly. So if I look at Exam Portal on my screen, it looks like this.
Okay.
And what it allows me to do is to start a session by saying student login, and at that point I'll be able to log in and use the OTP so that I go to the correct place. We'll do that in a moment with a pretend exam.
Yes.
Okay. The other thing, that the next system that we use, and it has both it has a proctoring function, but it also has a practical function, is Microsoft Teams.
Yes.
Now, in Microsoft Teams, there are two places that a child or a student of ours will go to.
Yes.
The first is our FET Town Hall.
Yep.
And as you can see on the screen at the moment, when they're going to write an exam, this is where they're going to find the information they have. And there are two pieces of information in the Town Hall. The one is the OTP, the one-time password to log into the exam itself on Exam Portal, and the other is this QR code. Tell us a little bit more about the QR code.
Okay, so the QR code is linked to the Invigilator app. The Invigilator app is one that tracks your sounds. So you'll sign into the Invigilator app at the beginning of your exam, and you will then be able to scan us, and then it actually monitors the sounds in the room. So that will flag if we need to watch your recording. So if there's something that is flagged 3 minutes into the exam, we will then go watch that recording at that time and check that there wasn't anything. Maybe it was your mother bringing you a cup of tea, but it could be somebody else coming in, and you actually can
answer to you.
Yeah. And we can actually hear what's happening. So it does record, and it does flag any suspicious behavior. Sometimes it's just the student reading the exam paper. So we would then be able to just check those recordings, listen to see what it is.
And again, just to make sure our students feel comfortable and at ease, it's not that we don't believe that they're going to cheat in an exam. That's not the point of this. But we want them to be able to have the confidence of knowing that everything's in place and they can't be accused of anything. And if there is any inconsistencies, together even, we can go and have a look at that, and they can give us an explanation, or we can see it obviously on the camera. We'll get to cameras now, because cameras are quite important in all of this. So the app is called Invigilator. We've already taken our students through that. If you've joined us, you should have been given some training on it.
Yes.
If you're watching this webinar and you feel uncomfortable, that you don't understand enough yet about Exam Portal Invigilator, send a message. We'll do training with you with pleasure. Okay.
Definitely. And then I think that is also to understand that there is actually a helpline for the Invigilator app. There's a WhatsApp number, and for every exam that will be put on the screen as well, so that they'll know exactly where to go if, for example, it's not
Which
connected.
screen where?
I'll put it up on the FET Town Hall as well.
Okay, so the number for WhatsApp.
The WhatsApp number for the Invigilator app.
Okay.
So if it's not logging in,
if a child has used the WhatsApp on Invigilator before, is it the same number or is it different?
Yes, it's the same.
Okay,
so they can even save it as a.
You save a good practice would be to save the WhatsApp number onto your phone, onto your WhatsApp, so that if you get stuck with Invigilator, there's a whole team sitting by to help you unstick yourself, as far as that's concerned. Again, our exams start when they start. It doesn't matter if you're 10 minutes late starting.
Exactly.
You get the amount of time you need. So if you get stuck with any of these things, it's not a cause for stress, it's not a cause for panic. And of course, I'm going to get into the other side of Teams at the moment. So not only are the Invigilator people standing by, one of our team is standing by on MS Teams to help you if you get stuck with anything.
So there will always be an exam session meeting set up in FET Town Hall for that session. So it will say which 3 exams for each grade it's going to be. And then if you are stuck at any point, or if something's happened that you are worried is going to be flagged on any of these systems,
you can
just jump on and let the Invigilator know, the person, Invigilator, so that they can actually note it down and let us know that's happened. For example, maybe your Wi-Fi's gone down, or your power's all of a sudden gone down, your recording stopped, your battery of your phone's died, whatever. Rather let people know and then we can help you talk it through and problem solve with you, rather than sitting stressing that your time's going away and you're not finishing your exam. So the most important part is actually the exam and the assessment. The technology, once it's all set up, we're hoping that by having this step 1, step 2, step 3 system, the technology is then going to disappear. Step 1 I do that, step 2 do this, and then
routine.
And it becomes a routine, and you are then going to focus on writing the exam and forget that there's actually cameras and everything else around you, and just get on with the exam.
The only thing that will interrupt your flow is every now and again the Invigilator app prompts you to do something as part of proctoring thing.
It will only be one selfie, which will just make sure that you're the right person that's writing the exam. The rest of the other things are recordings and things that shouldn't interrupt you at all.
Okay, so you won't be interrupted by Invigilator, except right at the beginning you take a selfie so that they know it's you.
Yeah.
And then it uses the fancy face recognition, etc.
Yeah.
So there's this AI running in the back of Invigilator, which is checking the sounds coming through and flagging whenever something's wrong. Okay, we'll go through step by step, but just to quickly go back to the team. So what I've done is this QR code that is on the screen over here is the one that I'm going to scan on Invigilator in a moment to actually start the exam session on Invigilator.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Teams then, the second place I'm going to go on Teams before I start my exam is I'm going to go to the grade 12 assessment team, and every one of our students has an individual channel. It's private to them, only they can see, and our teachers can see that channel. Okay.
Yeah.
So when they go to the assessment team, they're going to see a general channel, and they're going to see this personal assessment channel, usually with their name on it. Okay.
Yes.
And the idea is, and we'll walk through this in a moment, the idea is that they're going to go into this channel, and that's where they're going to record their exam session. So they've got Invigilator recording the audio. This also records the audio,
yes, yeah.
but it also records the face, so we can actually see and track eye movement and all those
so
things.
Ideally we don't want you to have a second screen for these types of exams. So if your eyes are flicking to a different
so
screen,
if you have another screen up, then it's going to be flagging it as suspicious eye movement, because you're looking somewhere else in the room, and we're wondering. Listen, again, our students don't need to get stressed about this. I mean, everybody during an exam might go, I'm wondering about. We're not thinking, of course, that you've now pasted your crib notes on the roof. Okay.
Scanning them.
And at any rate, the types of questions we want to ask you are not the types that are going to allow for easy cheating. Okay, let's go through the workflow now. So, in the exam taking workflow, it all starts with the venue, and it starts with getting ready for your exam. Yeah. So sometimes what happens is a particular exam will have a booklet that has to go with it. So something like an EGD exam, you have to have the template that you're writing on. Geography, you might have to have maps. And what we do is we send that information to you in advance so that you can print it.
Yes. Okay.
Now, in some cases, the printing has to be done on A3. I'm thinking of the
only EGD and geography maps,
and some of the maps. Okay, so you can download your file, and you can go off to a Jetline or a PostNet or something like this. Give it to them and ask them to print it. It's not cheating, because all you're doing is getting the resources ready. You don't know what questions are going to be asked about.
Exactly.
Okay, so before your exam starts, and we're saying at least 24 hours, you need to have those printed sitting in your room, so that you're not stressed about it on the day. Okay, I'm going to just take us, the next step is, once you've got your pre-work ready, your next step is to get your venue ready. And I just want to stand up now and just take you through what a good exam venue setup is. Okay, so obviously you're going to have your paper. It doesn't matter how much paper you have, but you have to remember that anything you write on has to be scanned. Okay, so you've got your exam pad where you're going to write your exams. You might have some blank paper to scribble on, take notes, but the important thing to remember is anything you write on, you're going to have to scan, both on the Invigilator app. You're going to have to scan it, you're going to have to upload it.
And just put a simple line through it to say rough work.
Yeah, so if you were just scribbling, you can just draw a line through that. But we do need
to see every single
thing that you wrote on during that exam has to be scanned and sent to us. Okay.
For the matrics, that would be in your booklets that you would receive in your final exams. Anything you've written down will be in that booklet, so you could actually write at the back of the booklet or whatever.
That's when you're sitting in a real venue and have to do it in person. This is not a very good desk because it's very cramped. What you want is a nice spacious desk because you're going to have your computer there, and then you want to have enough space for writing. More than one pen, because the worst thing that can happen is that your pen can run out.
And obviously any rulers or rubbers or whatever else you need, you need
for that
to be
particular
there.
exam.
You can't be scratching through your desk during the exam, because that will be flagged by the invigilator app.
Correct.
Because it's obviously a suspicious sound.
Set your venue up as if you were sitting in a hall getting ready to write an exam. Very important, comfortable chair. So what you want is a chair that you can comfortably sit on for 2 hours.
Yep.
You don't want to be able to rock and fall backwards too easily, because that will become part of our blooper reel.
Yeah, especially when you're
and then you need another space where you can have your camera set up. Okay.
Yep.
Because what we are going to need here are 2 cameras. There's the camera that comes from the computer, the webcam on your computer. That might be built in. It may also be a separate webcam. It doesn't matter. That's going to come through on your exam session. And then you're going to have a device that also has a camera that can join the session as well. So you're going to be joined to your exam session on 2 different platforms. I would suggest you use your phone for that. So once you've joined Invigilator, you can then switch over and join your phone.
And that's why we would sign into the Invigilator before
First.
we set this up. And just note that the Invigilator timer is not going to be linked to your exam.
So don't worry about the time on
So don't worry
the
about that.
Invigilator.
You will be given extra time on the Invigilator app for your exams. The timer on the exam portal is the one that you're watching.
Okay. All right, so now I've got my venue set up. I'm all comfortable. I'm all ready to start my exam. I've pre-printed my synoptic chart. There's my South Atlantic anticyclone and the map of South Africa, so that I'm ready. This was my pre-printed thing. I've got my pad and any other notes I want, and I've got my pens, and my computer's ready to go. Okay, so now we're going to pop across, and we're going to do the next step. And the next step is for me at the appropriate time to go to the town hall to get the OTP and the QR code. So let's do that.
Okay, so there will be a meeting. So if you've got any issues, you can join the meeting. But if you don't have any issues, you don't have to join the meeting. Just get the QR code and the OTP, and those are all you need.
Great. So I'm here. I'm in the town hall. I'm in the general channel of the town hall. And I've got my QR code. So now you're going to go onto Invigilator. Now you've logged in to Invigilator.
All ready to go. And it says,
and now I'm going to say Start Invigilator. And I'm going to scan the QR code. And now it's starting the event. In a second or two, it's going to say tests. We now need to test the sound if we need to. Testing the sound. It sounds fine. I'm ready to start. So when you're in Invigilator, it says, please, you're not allowed to go out of Invigilator, but we can tell Invigilator that some apps are allowed. And in this case, we've told them that Teams are allowed.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to pop across into Teams, and we're going to go into our meeting there. Okay. So I'm going to go to my personal channel now, my personal assessment channel now. I'm going to start a meeting. I'm going up here to start a meeting, and I'm going to join it. Now I'm ready to write my exam. I've got my Invigilator going. My next step is to switch my camera on. So now you can see me while I write my exam. Okay. Please note, we haven't yet set the second camera up. So we're not ready to go into exam portal yet. We're still in Teams. We're getting our venue ready to proctor. So now we go onto Teams on our phone, and you should see that you're in a meeting there. So now we've joined the team on our computer, and we've joined the team on our phone. Okay, so you should see yourself twice. In this case, I've let you join. Just remember that on the phone, you need to switch off the sound completely. Okay, but you need to have both the camera and the mic running on the team over here. That's you don't need to worry about this anymore. You can minimize this. It'll happen in the background. You're fine, you're now ready. So what you need to do with this camera is you need to have this camera running as well. So now on the team you're going to see 2 cameras. You're going to see your own camera, and then you're going to see the camera that's coming from the phone. I'm just going to flip that camera around so that it's now using the main camera. Now you can see I've got this camera, and what we want you to do is just do a 360. Just go around like this. Remember that you need to press record and start recording. So once you've got your other camera running and you're ready to go, the next thing to do is to start recording the session. So I know it's complicated, guys, and I know there are lots of steps, but it'll become routine. So just to remind us, we went into Teams, we got our QR code, and we got our OTP. All right. Then we went onto our channel on Teams and we started a meeting. We've got our camera and mic on. Then we went onto our device and we joined the meeting on our device, and we switched the camera on there, but we put the sound off. Now we're cool because now we've got a camera that we can use as a mobile camera, and we've got a camera that's going to watch our face while we're writing our exams. Okay, so now you switch on recording. You go into recording, and the first thing you do with your mobile camera is just walk around in a 360-degree circle
table,
so that you can see. Then bring it down, show us what's on your table, show us what's around your table, so we can see very nicely if there's anything that
looks suspicious
that you are worried about. You can always ask us. And then the next step is to go and put this camera onto a stand. Maybe you can just stand it up in a bunch of books or something. Okay, so now I'm going to take my mobile camera and I'm going to put it over here where it has a full view of what's going on my desk. In fact, what I can even do is I can turn it sideways so that I get a nice landscape view of what's going on. So that's not a narrow view, but a nice wide view. So I've got my camera here, it's in landscape view, and I'm getting a really nice view of what's happening at my desk. So that when I sit at my desk and I start writing, you will see that the camera can see that I'm not taking a crib note out of my foot so that I can check it. And remember, the other camera is busy watching my head movement, watching what's going on. So now I'm ready. Now I'm ready to write my exam. That's the technical side. It's complex at the beginning, but actually just do it 2 or 3 times.
And if it's all set up, basically, it's not going to be a big deal.
No, it's going to be pretty quick to do. And the more you do it, we have the saying, you learn the work by doing the work. So if you're
now you're going to minimize this and forget you even got it.
Yeah, now you don't need to worry about Teams anymore. Now what you're going to do is you're going to pop across to your exam portal. While I'm talking about that, remember you must write in black ink. Yes. on your exams. Everything must be on black ink. You can't use pencil. Everything must be in black ink. So now we're ready to start our exam.
Yep.
So we've got into the exam portal and we need to fill in our exam number and our password, and then we log in. Okay, now we're going to see the test that's waiting for us to go.
Yep.
And so we're ready to start our test. So we're going to go to the start test button. Now it wants our OTP, which we were given on the town hall. And now I will get my question paper. It tells me you're about to do a live exam. It's going to be monitored. They're going to see if the following things are going to be considered an irregularity. So leaving or losing focus on the exam area, pressing keys like Control-C or Control-V, and closing the exam unless finished. Okay, all right, so we agree to all of those.
Okay, I think another important thing is that we don't want to see any other tabs open.
Okay,
so only the exam
portal tab should be open. You shouldn't have other tabs open at the top. Okay, and now we're going to begin our test. And so now it loads our paper for us, and there's the exam test paper. On this side I can see the questions, and on this side I type in my answers. Is that right? Have I got this right?
So sometimes there will be a template, other times it'll just be a blank screen.
Sometimes it'll say, here's the question, fill it in.
And you'll just have the questions on the left-hand side and the right.
In the case of our matric students and our grade 11 students who are in their last exam of the year, we don't want them to type the answers in here.
No.
So all they have to do is worry about the exam paper. Okay,
yes.
Do you agree? So now I'm going to go there. I see it says type your full name. Well, in this case, you're going to be using your exam number in matric.
Yep.
Okay, I've got my synoptic chart ready. I'm just going to take that out of the way because it's confusing things. And here's my exam pad. Okay, so now I'm going to start. I'm going to follow the instructions. It wants my SD number at the top here. In the case of your prelims, we do want your name on the paper. So you're going to say, I'm Colin Northmore. I'm ready to write. Have you managed it? So now there may be multiple choice questions here. There may be match the column questions here. If it's a match the column question, I'm just going to say A, question 1, A, and 2, and question 2, A and 3. Question 3 is C and 1, for example. Or I'm going to say
most of those will also be on templates, so it'll make it a lot easier for you to actually
if you had an exam booklet that you had to pre-print, it'll all be there. Okay. Sometimes I might have to draw a graph. If I'm doing maths, I'm going to say t squared plus x1 minus a is equal to a squared plus 2. I don't know if that, and now the maths teacher is laughing at me completely, and I might do my working out. 2 squared is very easy, that's 4, plus x minus a is equal to a times a plus 2, so I can now say, well, 2 minus 2 plus 4 plus x minus a is equal to a times a. Nice, etc., etc. Okay, so now I'm on the portal, I'm writing my exam. In the case of our matric students, what we want you to be doing is reading your questions. If you've got a template that you write on that you pre-printed, use that. Otherwise, just a blank page. Remember to number your questions carefully. Remember to number your sections carefully. If you are writing on ExamPad, what we're expecting is a big border on both sides, and you'll be able to download an example of that. We'll put an example of what that should look like, and you're writing your answers, and you're writing your answers, and you're going through and you're reading your next question, and you're writing your answers. At some point you might need to reference your synoptic chart. Okay, I can see that it's going to get very warm in Cape Town, so warm in Cape Town. You might be guessing that geography is my subject. Okay, now I'm ready. I've finished writing my exam. So now I need to say, finish the test.
Yep.
Okay. Do I need to scan my notes before I finish the test?
Okay, so if you have handwritten things, you do need to scan the notes before you finish. So you would press the scan notes button. It'll prompt you to use your phone to scan a QR code. Again, you might need to then stop the recording, but then you should still be recording on the other.
Okay, so now we did it by hand, so we need to scan our notes. So now we're going to get up, we're going to go and fetch our phone, which we've happily been using to record ourselves. We're going to switch out of Teams, and we're going to go to the camera.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to go to camera on our phone, and we're going to come along and we're going to scan this QR code. It's going to want to take me to the exam portal.
Yep.
So now I have the exam portal showing up for it to photograph my work. Okay, now you can see that there's still recording happening in the background, but we're at the end now, so we're both comfortable that you can go to Teams on your phone and leave the meeting on Teams on your phone. We don't need this camera anymore. That's all been captured, but now we're going to go through and we're going to go scan our work. So we say scan our work, and we can take a photo, and then we can use that photo and scan work, next page, use photo. Okay, so now that we finished our exam, we've said finish our exam. Because we're handwriting, we need to scan our exam. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to exit the team on this side so that it doesn't confuse us, and then we're going to go here with our camera, and we're going to use our camera to scan the code. That's going to take us to the exam portal and give us an opportunity to photograph our work and upload it. A plea from our teachers is please make sure that the scan you take is very clear, so that it's not hard to read what's there. Yeah, you get a retake option. So look at the photo and make sure that everything is clear. If it's not clear, rather retake the work, and that way you can make sure that you get a very clear version of your exam for the teacher to mark. Okay, and then the exam portal will give you an OTP on your phone, and you will enter the OTP into here and click save, and then it'll say, okay, we're ready. All right, and then finally, you just go to finish the test.
So when you say finish, it says download answers offline. Yes, do that.
So we download our answers, and that gives us a nice backup of our answers. So we've got the photographs that have gone up. We've also got an online backup. But remember, the download answers offline is only if you actually typed answers into the thing. So in the case of our matrics, this is the only source. They
would have scanned it. So it would scan.
Oh, when you're scanning it, it puts it into the document. I get it. Okay, thank you. And then when we've downloaded our answers, we can say finish and exit. Okay, now we're finished with the exam portal, but we're still running Invigilator on here. Yes. Okay, and we're still running our exam session on Teams. Okay, so we've got both of those things. that we now have to finalize. So the first thing is I'm going to go onto the phone and I'm going to pop across to the Invigilator. I'm allowed to upload my script, and this is very important.
This is our backup.
Do need to say, okay, on Invigilator, it's now going to give me the option to upload my script. So now I'm going to, and just again, a reminder to our students, the timer on Invigilator is irrelevant. The timer that was on Exam Portal was the one you had to worry about. So now I'm going to do that, make sure there's nice lighting in the room, and now, and this is very intuitive. It actually can create the scan. It finds the thing to scan for you. So as long as you stand still, and you get a lovely clear picture as you go, and you just say next, and then you scan your next page and your next page. Remember what we said, you have to scan absolutely everything that is on, that you wrote on. You can't have any pieces of paper that you wrote on that you don't scan and upload. All right, now I'm finished, so I'm going to say next, and I'm going to say done, and I'm done, and now it's got my 2, I save it, creates a nice PDF, I upload it, yes, upload the document, I'm done. Again, there's a separate guide for this. I'm going to go, it's saved nicely. I'm now going to go back to my dashboard, and now I can stop the invigilation session. If you're watching this webinar, remember there is a separate guide to using Exam Portal. Mrs. Foot explains what the whole screen looks like and how it works to you. There's another guide as well around the Invigilator app that will show you how to use the Invigilator app. Okay, so Mrs. Foot, the last step then is we just leave our exam session.
Now you have to remember you need to upload your exam into the Blackboard.
Correct. Okay, so
your teacher will have created a exam upload
session,
and you need to then upload either the downloaded documents from your computer or the Invigilator app scans. There's an option to save those as well. So if you've got Blackboard on your phone, you can even just upload it directly from your phone onto the Blackboard.
Okay, so the final step in our exam session is you've finished, you've now got a copy of your answers on your computer, you go into Blackboard, you sign in, you go to that subject, and you go to that exam session, and you start the exam, but you're not going to answer it again. All you're going to do is upload the pictures and say submit.
Yeah.
And that's how the teacher will now mark you, and that's where you will find your marked papers at the end.
If there's anything suspicious, they will go back to the Exam Portal and to the Invigilator to check that it's identical documents. Because if you obviously have changed something before you've uploaded it, there will only be an short amount of time open. But if you've spotted something that you needed to change, you cannot change it.
But the scan anyway that you're uploading either comes from the Invigilator app or it comes from the Exam Portal. So you can't really mess with those, except that the Exam Portal saves it as a Word document, but it's still a picture.
Yeah.
Even though it's a Word document, it's still an image.
Once you've done that.
Good.
Excellent.
And now the exam is done. Now you've done an exam session. Once again, to our students, I know it sounds complicated, and certainly the first couple of times you do it, you may struggle a little bit. Certainly we're going to give you enough time so that if you get it wrong, a reminder that the Invigilator people are online, on WhatsApp, ready to help you if you're stuck. Our staff are online. If you're stuck with Exam Portal, or if you're stuck with the exam itself, you can pop over and just ask for help. We'll help you. The critical thing is that you need to be familiar with the technology. So the more you practice it, the more familiar you will become. And we will certainly create opportunities for you to practice so that you can be comfortable with the technology. And the technology, as Mrs. Foot said in the beginning, must just become invisible. Ultimately, it's not the technology that matters. Everything should be running invisibly to you. You should be writing your exam and be comfortable writing your exam.
Just one other thing I want to just remind you is that at the beginning of your exam, remember that there's a 10-minute reading period. You're not allowed to write anything in that first 10 minutes.
So for the first 10 minutes, just read through your paper.
You need to just read through your paper and make sure that you only start writing after that 10 minutes. So that is allowed for, as well as we give you 5 minutes at the end for the scanning and the uploading. So we do allow for that time. So don't waste your time right until the end, because you need to allow for the time to scan and upload as well.
Excellent.
So please just make sure you've banked
Yeah,
on
so
that.
you've got time at the beginning to read the paper. You're not allowed to write during those 10 minutes. The minute you start writing, the timer starts.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you start writing earlier, all you're doing is wasting your reading time.
Yeah.
And if you, at the end, you've got to just use the time to do all the scanning and uploading and that sort of thing. So we're going through the process. We got our booklets in advance. We went out and we printed them or printed them ourselves at home. We've got our exam venue ready. We've got a nice comfortable chair, a spacious desk. We've got all the cameras and technology we need. A very important note is make sure it's all charged up.
Yes.
Okay, don't run out of battery halfway through.
And if you're worried about any of your power issues, please watch our little webinar on what to do in an emergency.
Yeah, we've got a lovely little process that you can follow in the case of a load shedding or something. And this infographic is also obviously going to be uploaded to you so you can follow along there. Now we go into the town hall. We're receiving our exam portal OTP and our Invigilator code. We're scanning our QR code on Invigilator to start our first proctoring system. We're going to our personal channel and we're starting a meeting. And now we're sharing the camera and the screen from our computer. We're joining the meeting on a second device, our phone, position it to give a view of our workspace. Also have the camera up there. Sign into the exam portal on the computer, use the OTP to start the exam. Then you use the reading time to read the paper. Note you may not start until the 10 minutes have passed, which is what we've just spoken about. Then we start by rewriting instructions in your own words. Okay, so we want our students to not make mistakes by not reading the instructions properly. Okay, and when we talk about an exam plan code, what we do for our matrics is after the prelims, we're going to give you a strategy to follow when writing your final exam. And to remember that strategy, we're going to give you a little acronym or a code. So what we're expecting our students to do is before they actually start writing the exam itself, just rewrite the instructions in your own words so that we know that you've understood the instructions and so that you can just make sure that you've read those instructions, understood them. It's going to take a couple of minutes of your time, but it could save you half the marks on the paper.
Especially if there's a choice section.
Yeah, the minute there's choice section, make notes, circle things when there's a choice section.
Read your exam paper and then go back and say which of your choices you've chosen.
Correct.
So that at the end you can check that you've actually followed
or
the
you
stuff.
can also look at your exam, your personal exam plan code, because you'll be given some guidance on which choices to make. Okay. My exam code's there. I've rewritten my instructions. I can now complete the exam, paying attention to my timing guide. So, you know, we're going to have
The teachers will give you some advice. So, for example, if the test is 2 hours and it's 100 marks, you've got 120 minutes and 100 marks. So you maybe are planning to then use 1 mark a minute.
and then spare time for
20 minutes
fixing.
for checking and making sure that you've got.
Then after we've written our exam, we're going to use the tools in the exam portal to scan and upload our paper, and we're going to download a copy of the exam onto the exam portal. We've already spoken about that. And so we're going to use the tools in the exam portal to scan and upload our paper and download an offline copy of our paper. If we experience any problems during the exam, if we run out of time, if it auto-submits, the head of academics will get a copy to upload. So if you run out of time while you're writing the paper and it kind of stops, then don't forget to scan it into Invigilator, because obviously it's...
And if you've typed it and you don't have the offline version of it, then
don't worry about it.
And we will
give you a copy
you so that you can upload it into Blackboard.
But generally, if you're handwriting your paper and you run out of time and the thing stops, then it's not going to let you scan.
No.
So then you have to use your Invigilator app to scan. If that happens, immediately grab your Invigilator app and scan it. Okay. As a backup, scan again on the Invigilator app, and then close the Invigilator app and go to the assignment on BBU, like we said, and upload the scan to the appropriate test for marking. So that's the process. This particular infographic, it's a step-by-step thing. It's available on the exam team, so you can have a look at it there if you want to, and in the town hall.
Okay, and I think
any last points?
Yeah, I think that we must just also remember that just at the end, I think you just need to remember that if you don't upload anything into Blackboard, you won't have your exam marked, because that's where your teachers are marking it. So please make sure that is the final step. And if for any reason you aren't able to write the exam, we are expecting a doctor's note from your parents, and please communicate directly with me, because that's obviously where we need to
Make it work.
Attendance, etc.
And that's how you write an exam online in a way that everybody is confident that it's your personal work. Thank you for watching the webinar. Again, if you have any questions, just pop them in the comments below and we will respond. Thank you.
Thank you.